Welcome to Inside Voice, your behind the scenes take on the $150 billion home care industry. Here, it's not about the loudest voices or polished headlines. It's about real stories, real challenges, and real insights from those shaping care every day. Join us as we cut through the noise, explore trends, and uncover what it truly takes to make a difference in the lives of those we care about. Today, I have Ricky Greene and Natalie Caldwell, brother and sister team, owners of Preferred Care at Home of South Miami. We're going to talk about their launch during the COVID epidemic, what it looks like working with family, and ultimately their trajectory of potentially grossing over $2 million in 2025. Inside Voice. Okay, what I want to know is, starting out, sales background, nursing background. You started out your home care company together. How did your two past experiences complement each other when launching your home care agency?
Yeah, I mean, I really did not know a whole lot about healthcare and home care for that matter. Just knew how to talk to people. And Natalie brought in the healthcare side of things. So really complements each other, because even today she's teaching me stuff, words of like, hey, this is what this medical term means and this is how we handle this scenario. And then I can complement that with, all right, here's how we deliver it to the client or the patient. So it's honestly a great compliment. I don't think I could have done this by myself, or if I did, it would have been a lot harder than it was already. So
it's definitely a good compliment because our strengths complement each other. So where I come from, the more clinical healthcare side of things, and it's easier for me to understand that, but then transitioning and having to put on my sales hat or my business, side of things, and almost starting off really afraid of closing the deal or, trying to explain how. And really what it comes down to is, I'm not trying to convince someone to buy something that's not good for them. It's something that they actually need. Mm-hmm. And so getting over that hurdle of, we provide a service, you're in need of this service. I'm not trying to trick you into anything, and just kind of gaining confidence with that and things like that.
And what was cool is, like, in the beginning, we talk about the hats, like the different hats each one of us would wear. And it was very strict, like just naturally, like she would do this, I would do that. And kind of halfway through the business, after a few years, we started both of us, crossing and wearing all the hats. So right now, for the most part, we do everything. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful. So like if one of us is on vacation or one of us is sick or unavailable, what have you, we can handle the whole business. So we've been able to teach each other over the 5 years in business of, hey, this is how we operate this hat and this hat. So it's been good.
It's even helpful when taking what certain clients' needs, and he'll ask me, what do you think about this? And just even matching caregivers to cases, and depending upon people's health needs or conditions and things like that has been good too. So
yeah, that's good. And maybe you can relate to this, for nurses, their number one priority is always like client-centered, making sure the care plan matches what they need. Mm-hmm. And if you could, you'd give away care for free. Mm-hmm. And it's always nice to have a balance of like, okay, we got to set the case properly, but we also have to price it appropriately so that we can find quality caregivers to go out there. So I think the duo you guys have is special. So let's talk about the launch of your business. Initially, we're talking South Miami, very saturated market. When you open up, you're one of 400 probably, right? Mm-hmm. The launch period was, there's a lag time there. You need to open up, and you didn't get calls flooding in and cases flooding in. And you guys still decided, both of you, and I think what really changed when you both decided, hey, the business isn't producing yet, but we know there's sweat equity required for us in order to get this business off the ground. So we're going to be real entrepreneurs, and we're going to take a risk, and we're going to quit our stable jobs. And sales director, clinical, she's a nurse practitioner working in the hospital, and we're going to go full time in our own business and launch this thing. Can you just walk me through that thought process, how you guys came to that, the courage it took to do it, the dark days, and then not only that, what really changed when that happened?
It was very scary. It was very scary. But honestly, we're super glad we did it. I think it was God's timing with everything, because we both, a year into the business, we both had our first kids. So that was like something, I don't know if I would have made that jump in the midst of that. So it was really impeccable timing. But yeah, both super cushy jobs, great jobs. But the motivator was not working for the man. Like we wanted, family was super important, and being able to be present and raise our kids and be involved as much as possible was our number one priority. And this business was kind of the answer to that. And not just that, but it also gave more purpose to, not that sales, at least for me, I can't speak to her, her job with the nursing, different already purpose there, but just selling software, is kind of check that box. I was kind of done with that. So this was cool because, my parents, they took care of my grandparents for 15 years. So I got to see that firsthand. We both did. And so being able to a couple birds with the same stone, right? We were able to be more involved with our family, but also do something that was meaningful and taking care of the generation that really raised us, I thought was really, really cool.
And to answer your question on the logistics side of things, I think it's very wise and helpful to plan ahead like a 6-month period. If you are quitting your job and jumping in head first, to maybe have a 6-month nest egg, so to speak, or plan ahead to where, if you are going without pay, if you are quitting your job, to have at least a 6-month, like
a buffer. Yeah.
That way you are able to go all in and you're not having to maybe try to manage 2 things at one time, because it is hard. If you're trying to get a business up and running, it's hard if you're still in another business or you're still at your day job. You just don't have a lot of time and hours and things like that.
And we really we did as much as we could before quitting our jobs, setting it up, because there is a lot of setup in the home care, licenses and softwares and just logistics.
Yeah.
But then finally we got to the point where okay, this requires more attention. So I quit first for the first 6 months, fully did it. She was finishing her NP school, and we weren't really taking off. And I was like, Natalie, we need a second person. I need you on board. And then the same month that she quit and helped me, it took off.
The glue.
I'm not saying I'm a lucky charm, but
Yeah.
But what you said about sweat equity is so true, because no effort goes to waste. Like everything that you're doing, every step of the way is contributing towards something. So even, for example, in the beginning, let's say you get a few Google reviews, that's, in your tool belt, and like everything, just your reputation just block by block builds over time. And now we have built such a reputation that it's only up from here. You know what I mean? Like everything is built up.
It's planting seeds, and some seeds sprout really quick, and other ones might take a lot longer, but they will sprout.
Yeah.
And this may be sacrilegious, but I always say home care is a lot like the word of God. It doesn't return void. If you put in the effort, right? You do the things, you will reap it ultimately.
It's true. Yep.
We were having a conversation last night, me and Ricky were, and we were talking about, people want a low investment business with, and even you were part of this, Natalie, low investment money wise, and low investment from their own time, energy, emotion, effort. And they want the business to take off.
All the fruit. Yeah.
Right. And so one thing about home care is anyone can do it, which is a good thing, which is also the bad thing. Anyone can do it. So if you put in the time, effort, and energy, you will be successful in this business, especially with the right processes. Yeah. But if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's just what happens with it. So let's kind of go back when you both went full time and decided this is what we're going to do. We're going to invest the sweat equity necessary to take this business to the next level. What immediate changes did you implement, and you started to see potentially a turnaround in the business for it to take off?
It's kind of going back to it's a 2-person job. Not saying, one person can't do it, but I mean, it's just a lot. There's a lot of hats to wear. And, you have to have somebody fully talking to caregivers. Like it's a full 40-hour, 50, 60-hour job if you're going to hire quality talent. And then the other side of things, you got to be talking to clients. You got to be talking to clients, following up, checking in with them and seeing when they're ready. And those have to intersect at some point. And if you're not actively recruiting and you just signed up a case, you don't have anybody to put on that case, or you're just throwing a random caregiver on the case, you're going to lose it. And not just lose it, but now you have a little bit of bad reputation out there. And that's super important. So that's, I think, why it worked really well when she jumped on board, is she was able to do the whole recruiting side of things amongst a lot of other items. And I was able to talk to clients because we were able to kind of run in stride with each other. So I would be like, hey, here's a new person I just signed up, a new client. And she's like, cool, I just onboarded so-and-so, these 3 caregivers, and I think they'd be a perfect fit for this case. They have a lot of experience.
So instead of having one engine run and then that stops to do the next thing, so like marketing engine run, and then I got a case, now let me turn on that recruiting engine. They're both running constantly. Yeah. And they're
even if it is one person, and let's say you're starting out by yourself, and all your bases are covered, what you might be missing is like the quality that you get to add, the quality touch points. So checking in with your caregiver, seeing if there's anything you can do for them, either gifts or recognition or quality touch points with clients, like that kind of stuff, unfortunately gets put on the back burner because you're just trying to keep up and
survive.
You're trying to survive, maintain your workload and things like that. So that's super important to our business too, and our brand and our reputation in the community, because you'll see like all the competition in the area, they struggle with their reputation and reliability and things like that. So you don't want to let those quality touch points fall to the wayside because they're so important. But unfortunately, sometimes you just don't have time.
Let me just stay here for a second. So Natalie, with your experience as being a nurse and now a nurse practitioner, how has that background influenced the standard of care for your client onboarding? Because I know you're a part of that, but also when it comes to your caregiver training at Preferred Care Home, what do you think you've done from your past experience and you've implemented in your business to create such a high quality of care? Because for the uninitiated, you guys have a ton of Google reviews, all 5 stars. I think one of the things that sets you guys apart is client referrals and just the client satisfaction you have. You guys have, we have Home Care Pulse set up for you guys where they randomly call your clients and caregivers and you guys score perfect 10 out of 10. So there is something you guys are doing to create a certain standard. And I'm wondering if it has something to do maybe with your experience as being a nurse practitioner, or even working in the healthcare field that you saw and said, if I were to do something for myself, this is the standard I would have. So what would you say some of those things maybe are that have created such success for your guys' business?
Yeah, I do think it comes from experience working in the hospital and seeing the work that CNAs do, and not necessarily home health aides, because I wasn't in the home care side of things, but even in the hospital, being a CNA is a really thankless job, and it's a really tough job, and they're not paid as much as nurses, and they're not paid, especially nowadays, they could go get a job at McDonald's and make near same pay. So they're doing what they're doing for a reason. They're not just doing it for the money. You hope so, but it's a really hard job to do if you're just doing it for the money. And so, making them feel seen and valued and appreciated. Like, we realize what you're doing is very difficult work, but it's so important work, and we're taking care of seniors. And so maintaining that recognition and that appreciation for them spurs them on to go and do the good works of what they're doing day to day with clients. So
you're saying a lot of recognition. What are some of the ways you guys do caregiver recognition?
So for those who don't know, a lot of what we do is remote. So we are really big on communication. We've been able to build a reputation on communication and on remote, aspects. So from texting to phone calls, we will verbally tell them how much we appreciate them, but then we'll also send them gifts for their birthdays. We'll send them gift cards.
We're just getting to Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving, we like to do handwritten notes, and calling out specifically, thank you for the work that you do with Mr. or Mrs., so-and-so. Or Christmas, we'll send them gift baskets or gift boxes or whatever.
The Harry and David's, is that the name?
Harry and David.
It's really cool. We have
website.
A subscription to that. So for clients, we do that on clients' birthdays. So it's not just caregivers, but clients, but it's cool.
Sends it straight to their house.
We can send right to their house a little gift basket. We try to switch it up every year. So that's a cool personal touch that makes it a little special.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in our industry, if a caregiver can be on an island, if you let them, they can go in, they can clock in, they can clock out, they can go back home. and you can not speak to them. So it sounds like what you guys do a good job is you're very intentional by making sure you have touch points.
Yes.
You're connecting with these caregivers, making sure they know they're a part of a team. And if they need something, they can always reach out to you, right?
That's another thing. So we do have some island caregivers that they're just on autopilot. They clock in, they clock out, they do everything they're supposed to do. And it's comfortable. We're like, wow, everything's going great. If there's no complaints, everything's going great. But then, you tell yourself, okay, let me check in, let me risk and see if there is something that needs adjustment, even though, it might take more of your time or whatever, but it's worth it because you want to keep them happy. You don't want them to just say, I quit one day because they have, concerns that they haven't voiced and things like that.
And kind of another way to think about it, another way to answer your question is, what's the pyramid called where it's like the first level is like,
Maslow's
food.
hierarchy.
Yeah, the hierarchy, right? You have the pyramid, okay? Yeah. And like the sleep, the food. It's kind of the same thing in starting this business. In the very beginning.
I took that pyramid a little too serious with the carbs.
Yeah,
that's
carbs.
The base. That's the base.
For you, it's carbs.
Oh, sorry.
Pickleball.
You got your carbs.
Candy, carbs.
Pickleball. More pickleball. But it's kind of the same thing in starting this business. In the beginning, your first layer is just make sure there's no call outs. Make sure people are just showing up, bodies showing up, right?
Warm bodies.
And like that, a lot of people stay in that first level for a long time.
And it's comfortable.
And it's comfortable. And like, that's all, you're thinking about. Just, hey, if I have people there, I'm doing my job. I'm doing what the client signed me up to do. And, naturally everybody's in that to start, but you have to get to the next level. And the next level is like, okay, those check-ins, or like we were just talking about with caregivers, making sure that they're appreciated, and we're going above and beyond. So like that might be the next level. Then we got into, name tags and uniforms and like all those things. There's a level, a hierarchy. And obviously the first is making sure that we have quality caregivers at the home. But as you can delegate, share hats, we've been fortunate enough to hire a couple employees in our office to help us to delegate those tasks. So then it frees us up to do other things, or we can delegate some of these tasks that we're talking about. But I think that's really important in the growth of your business, so that caregivers and clients don't go elsewhere because they feel that it's just subpar, mediocre, service. We want to stand apart. We want to make sure that we're excellent.
Yeah, it sounds a lot to me like you're talking about developing a culture, right?
Yeah.
So to start, it's you. You are the culture. There's nobody else bought into that, right? But then you start to get buy-in from not only your caregivers, but even your clients, which is probably the most exciting part of growing an agency, is to see the buy-in of your guys' culture and your vision. Staying on that, when it comes to clients, if you were to speak directly, and maybe primarily for you, Ricky, but I would love to hear from you, Natalie, as well. If you're speaking directly to a family member who is starting that difficult search for home care and options, and deciding, do I go with preferred care at home, or do I go with this company? What's the differences? What do you say for someone who's actively shopping, looking for answers, and trying to decide which is the best choice for them to go with for an agency? What are some of the things that you say, or what is maybe one key message that you share to those types of individuals?
I love the way Jill Malonga says it, of just like, you get me. I don't say it as, straightforward as that, but more or less I'm like, hey, listen, I encourage you to talk to a bunch of other agencies, but at the end of the day, like, we're a family run business. I paint the picture of how we got into business, Natalie and I, and how we are super involved, and that's not going to change. Like, yeah, we have other crew members and employees under us, but you get us, and that's super important because we get it. We have the heart for home care, and that quality is never going to lack because we're involved.
It's amazing.
It's personal to us.
Yes, it really calls back to 1984 when my parents started in senior care, and they were looking for a slogan, and they hired a marketing agency. And they said, okay, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is, my dad talking, I'm Frank, and this is my wife, Jody. She's a nurse. And this is her mother, who's also a nurse. We're starting this home care agency. We want to say something that talks about us and why they should choose us. And the guy goes, our family caring for yours.
Wow.
And so that's trademarked.
We actually have that on our website. I wrote that in our bio.
Yep. And so that is And then in secondary one we also have is we care for those you care about. But our family caring for yours is really calls back to really the roots of preferred care at home. And it's really cool to see that like that is still thriving is, hey, this is our family caring for your family. And ultimately why you should choose us is because of us. Right. That's cool. All right. Last question, unless you guys have some other things you'd like to share. Forget the numbers, forget the highest paying client or anything like that. Give me one really cool story that you guys have, a client story that's memorable and extremely rewarding of the care that you provided, or a caregiver story, just something to that you'd like to share with us.
I have one. I'll go first.
Go.
We had a client that we cared for several years who passed away a couple months ago. And he had the same two caregivers for, I think, 1 to 2 years. You care for seniors where they're at in their stage of life, but you have no idea their backstory sometimes unless, you talk to them and you ask all these questions or they tell you and everything like that. Because sometimes you come in and you care for them at the stage of life. And I'm sure our caregivers get to know, a lot more than we do sometimes. But anyways, in the obituary, it was his story of how he came to America and this immigrant family and the things that he built. And he has a street named after him and all this cool stuff. And then there was this paragraph dedicated to our caregivers and the exceptional care that they gave and how they made such a difference in his life. Because at that stage of their life, at the end of their life, our caregivers are spending the most time with them, more than anybody else.
I'm pretty sure they mentioned family. Like they were talking about the caregiver, they said they became family. And one of those caregivers was only there for the last couple months as he started to decline. We had more care. So the second caregiver came in and they used that word for both of them. So
huge honorable mention. So that was really sweet. Not that it's about us, but it's just incredible how God can use us to start our business, to hire these caregivers, to connect them with this client and make such a lasting impact in the last years of their life. Is incredible. I have chills talking about it.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it almost re-grounds you to the impact that we are doing.
Yeah.
Because you can forget about it. I mean, before this podcast, you guys are dealing with a call out on a new client and you're in the weeds and it feels sometimes overwhelming, but then you get those moments and you're like, this is what it's about.
Having that top view of like, this is why we're doing this. It might be frustrating sometimes day to day, but like remembering the purpose and the mission.
I do have one more question I want to ask you guys. Okay. So brother and sister team, family dynamics. Listen, I get it. I work with my brother and my sister. How did you guys define roles? I mean, it was pretty clear cut, but one of the things that we always talk about, especially early on, is if the roles aren't defined, then there's no responsibility dealt, right? So when the ball gets dropped, it's like, well, I thought you were going to do that. Yeah. How did you guys define those roles? And how have you guys trusted each other that, hey, they're going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to trust them that they're going to execute at a high level, not going to micromanage. What are some of those steps with family dynamics in place and how have you guys been able to accomplish that?
I would say communication is huge, and that did happen to us in the beginning. So, for example, when he started working by himself the first 6 months, he carried a lot of the hats. And then I kind of came in, and there was a point where he was like, hey, I'm kind of doing a lot of work. And I was like, okay, well, you didn't tell me to take over anything. He's like, yeah, you're right. Here, let's do that. Here you go.
I just kind of assumed like, hey, I've been doing this and I'm going to keep doing it because I do it right. And I've been doing it for so long. So I just kind of assumed it. And it was like, I assumed she should be doing more, but she was like, well, you never delegated it out. So, and we've had a couple of those hiccups over the 5 years, but honestly, in the end of the day, it's just, you sit down, you communicate for a couple minutes, you hash that out, and we're like, okay, cool. Let's roadmap how we can delegate and share the load. And so that's not been just a one-time conversation. We have to have those periodically as it comes up. But, communication, like Natalie says, that's kind of our culture. I feel like with our caregivers, with our clients, communication is super important.
And I think you have to have a lot of grace for each other too. And I think it goes back to the way we were raised. A lot of people say, wow, you're working with your brother. Like you guys must get along really well. And I just think it goes back to our parents taught us, don't let money and business get in the way of your relationship. And so I think that's kind of where we come from as a foundation, and it enables us to work out any frustration or thing that we're up against. So.
Awesome. Good deal, guys. Thanks for listening. Make sure you give us a follow so you stay up to date whenever we drop a new episode.